So, so how's this all gonna work then? I mean, are you supposed to ask me questions, or?
I would say, like, just pretend like we're not here, really, is probably the best thing. Do whatever you want to do.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey. Whoa, sorry, we're speaking a little documentary here.
Yeah,
really.
don't pay attention. They're like students. Okay, my mother's upstairs though, so we'll have to like keep it down a bit. Okay. Wait, we're going down here, Lucy.
I don't know, maybe you want to tell us how long you've been or rather how long you've been...
I think Chris is trying to ask us how long you've been in the business.
The business?
Oh my God. That did it. Whoa. Are you okay?
Yeah.
It's only like human beings that are so arrogant so as to believe that they're better than every other kind of animal out there. And if it was so wrong to eat it, then why would it taste so good? That's good. People who eat stew make perfect stew. See, that's the thing. It sounds obvious.
There's got to be at least 100 active serial killers in North America right now. You guys are going to be editing this, I take it. The first thing you have to realize is that they're just not wired right.
And I'm just like looking into the camera, right? You know what they say, every cannibal wants to be a director, right?
Often these people are loners, but sometimes they may be surrounded by a small group of friends.
Yeah, you know, it's just a beer league. It's a good way to blow off some steam, you know? A bunch of regular guys out there. No one's really good. This is so good. Everyone writes about their crimes anyway, right? It's gonna write like a cookbook.
My very special guest is a talented filmmaker, Chris Power. Chris, how are you?
Great, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I've been hearing you on some podcasts quite a few years ago, and you have a film that I finally was able to see. And to be honest with you, it's probably one of the most shocking films. When I say shocking, I would say more like not expecting of what the film is about. But Long Pigs, you know, I said it in my review. I saw it, obviously, about 2 weeks ago or a week ago where it was, and it's been out for a while. And if I would have seen this film a hell of a lot sooner, it probably would have been my top film of 2010. But it's a shame that I missed it. But it's still going to be on my top 10 list for this year, even though it's pretty old. But how did you ever come about with this storyline for this movie?
Well, you know, the idea of, you know, certainly mockumentaries in horror is not necessarily a new one. You know, there's a great Belgian film, actually, that I have to tip my hat to, which is called Man Bites Dog. And it, you know, had a lot of the same, I guess, sort of flavor in the sense that it was just, you know, it was a guy doing horrible things, but filmed in a very ordinary way, not being very judgmental about it. And, you know, the central character had a lot of charm. He was just irresistibly charming. So, you know, when it came time to, you know, do our first feature, we needed something that was, you know, high concept, low budget. And, thankfully we had Anthony, who, you know,
sold it.
Makes the movie. I mean, the guy.
Yeah, he sold it.
He
brilliant.
I really can't say enough about him, and I'm so happy to see that he's gotten the kudos from people like yourself and others, because he deserves it. You know what I mean? And it's really the magic of filmmaking. I've worked on a lot of, you know, big budget films as an art director and in various other capacities in Toronto, and you know, it's really a bunch of alchemy. You know, you can have all the money in the world, but sometimes it just does not come together. You know. Case in point, I worked on The Recruit, you know, and it's got Al Pacino and a lot of great people in it, but, you know, just not a great film, you know what I mean?
Right.
Anthony made it amazing. The people who worked on it, I mean, this is one of those movies where everybody was working on it for absolutely nothing. In most cases, you know, it costing them money because we couldn't afford to get them there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They love. So I'm really happy to see people like yourself are still watching and appreciating it.
Yeah, well, you know, I just, you know, when I first started watching it, you know, I mentioned in the review, there's one certain start of the movie that's either going to make you or break you to continue watching it. My wife got so pissed at me because when I was telling her about the movie, I was laughing when I said it. I said there's this prostitute that's, you know, a little on the heavy side, not heavy. I said, but
Yeah.
you got my point. And she goes, hey, you're laughing about that? Well, see, I never seen a movie like that before in my life. Not to mention that it's made to be like a mockumentary type film. Is you got these two bumbling filmmakers who really got in over their head and didn't realize the after effects of actually filming this guy's life.
Well, you know, that's actually just to, you know, if there is a real life inspiration on our part for Long Pigs, I mean, Nathan and I did attempt to do a documentary at one point on a guy who was a multiple murderer.
Right.
Nathan's from a place in Canada called Newfoundland, and it was this bizarre story. We really, at that time, we were, you know, 20, 21, and we went out there, talked to him. We got in way over our heads. The guy was manipulating us, you know, calling us, holding his nose, saying that he just had his nose broken, and if he didn't get some money, that they were going to kill him, and, you know, calling our families, and it was just, it actually got really scary, you know what I mean? And that's certainly one of the things that we thought about when we were doing Long Pigs. Just to tell you another story, you know, with regards to your wife, I kind of had the same thing happen to me, except it was with a producer I was working with. And I wasn't there for it, but a buddy of mine was, and he literally took the DVD out of his computer and whipped it across the room, and then demanded that all, you know, evidence of it ever being in his computer be erased. And I was promptly, yeah, I mean, I was let go that day. You know what I?
Wow, I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, you probably heard his numerous the interviews that you've done and the reviews that you hear, but the movie to me, I mean, you're not watching a movie. You're watching like I said, a mockumentary, a documentary, whatever, of two filmmakers following Anthony around, and they get involved in, you know, kidnapping and slaughtering in his basement. I'm just blown away by it. That is something that's so, how do you say this? I wouldn't say easy to make, but I've never seen it before.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, I guess, you know, when it comes to mockumentaries, it's funny the things that take a lot of effort to make it seem effortless, I guess, is the point. You know, nothing kills me more than mockumentaries where they break the rules, or, you know, there's conveniently 1,000 cameras in the house so that everything can be captured. You know, that you know, we were really looking for, and it's hard, you know, if you look at the outtakes, you know, and the scenes that are out, it's very easy for it to slip into, oh, now we're making a movie. You know what I mean? And it's really hard to maintain that full of illusion and making it seem effortless, like you're just capturing what's going on. You know what I mean? Like our poor, you mentioned our prostitute. I mean, talk about a trooper. She came back on 3 separate occasions, and basically had to get naked and strung up by her feet and everything like that for that sequence. I mean, that sequence was incredibly difficult, and, you know, as a director, you're asking somebody to do something you would never do. I don't even take my shirt off when I go to the beach, you know what I mean? I'm asking to fuck naked and hang upside down by her ankles. It's tough, you know what I mean? It was really, some of those things were really difficult to do. But I'm glad, you know, you were immersed in it, I guess. That's sort of the idea, is that, you know, you sort of forget that you're watching, you know, a film, and, you know, you just let things happen, hopefully.
Right. And kudos to her, like you said. I mean, that's, wow, you know what I mean?
What a trooper! I can't say enough about. I mean, and this is an actress too. You know, when she came out for the first body cast, you know what I mean, and she had to ask some questions. She didn't know who we were. For all she knew, we were making a porno or whatever, right? We're asking to get naked, and she had some problems with it. And we were straight up. We said, "Listen, if you have a problem with this, like, you know, let's go away, think about it for a few days, and come back." And you know, literally by the she'd totally done a 180, and by the third time we had her up and naked, you know, she was leaving saying, "Okay, call me when we have to do it again," totally expecting that she would have to get up there again, you know, like it's really, that's the kind of gift that really makes the film, you know what I mean? And she did also, you know, an amazing job. You know, she actually had to stand out there on the street, you know, in those clothes.
Well, see, another scene right before that scene is where she walks into the basement, and I can't remember what it was. I guess either you or Anthony said something like, "A professional, how long?" And it's like, wham, back of the head, drops to the floor. I mean, how you made this film, it's like you kind of like expect something to happen, but then when it happens, you're still shocked by it.
Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, that's the point. I mean, we wanted the violence to be very visceral and to get you pretty comfortable with being behind the camera, so that when the violence happens, it feels real. And, you know, that's why we also tried to avoid things like, you know, we don't have any bump scares. We don't really have any fake scares in this movie. There aren't really the usual horror conventions, I guess, if you will, so that hopefully it feels more natural.
It did. I mean, and then I'm watching, and then of course, me being a viewer, I'm thinking, come on, Anthony, seriously? You're going to let these guys film you and put you out there? I said, I guarantee... See... You gotta understand something. I don't read covers. I don't watch trailers. I go into a movie open-minded, not knowing nothing. So I'm thinking, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Something's going to happen. And the one scene that I thought was so... I guess I can say it because it's been out for a while.
Oh, sure, yeah, you can spoil anything.
One of the scenes towards the end of the movie, I said, wait a minute here. I backed it up like 3 times, is... I think it was Anthony... Or Nathan, you're the writer.
Nathan?
Yeah, the one scene. Now, you and Chris, I mean, you and Nathan were the actual filmmakers, correct? Am I right in this?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And at the end of the movie, where the girl's father shoots him back of the head, it's like, get the hell out of here. I mean, you threw everything, and it wasn't like overdone. You know, a lot of films, they really go overboard. But it was done just like casually, like, oh, okay, well, you know, became very famous.
Certainly the filmmakers had to die. We always looked at ourselves as being probably the most reprehensible characters in the movie. And, you know, if there is any morality to the movie, then certainly we got what we deserved. I mean, you mentioned Merle, and, you know, just the idea of... you know, going to a guy's house and being that ghoulish, that to me, that little scene with no special effects, but with Merle there just talking about, is for me still, like, it wasn't even comfortable to shoot it. You know what I mean? I felt dirty somehow, even just thinking of this and going and doing it. And, you know, when I've watched it with audiences, people have, you know, noticeably gasped when it pans up and they reveal that Anthony is actually, we brought him along as the boom operator. You know what I mean? Clearly for, you know, our own shock value and for the benefit of the documentary that we're making. And so, yeah, you know, people got it. You know what I mean? That was one of those times where, you know, you shoot it and you write it, you shoot it, it actually works. You know what I mean? I think it does sort of signal a turning point in the movie where... You know, I had some younger reviewers coming up to me and sort of when they first watched it and said, so it starts out really funny and then it doesn't get so funny after a while. You know what I mean? And I guess the point was that, you know, I guess killing people can be fun, but murder is terrible. And
right.
You know what I mean? We did want to, you know, ground this in some kind of, you know, morality. You know what I mean? Some kind of realism. And, you know, just to, you know, you don't want to glorify a serial killer. Ultimately, Anthony's a horrible person. The filmmakers are horrible people.
It's crazy.
That we deserve.
But it's a gem. I mean,
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm working on Long Pigs 2 right now, believe it or not.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. Just to sort of give you the tease, it's, spending a little time on Facebook, with the fans, you know what I mean? It certainly does, it really puts the fear of God into you, I gotta say. You know what I mean? And shows you what can be really scary, you know what I mean? I'll tell you a quick story. We were at one of our, conventions, and we left, one of my buddy's girlfriends just to watch the booth while we went and had lunch, came back, and she was visibly shaken. And a guy had come up and just casually talked to her about, how he used to go out with a girl who worked in a morgue, and they were cannibals. They tried it this way and that way, and tasted, and then thanks very much and see you later. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So there are wackos out there, and the original ending to the first Long Pigs was this whole, media blitz, where it starts out as local news being horrible, and then, there's sort of teases of the footage, and eventually it ends up on kind of an Entertainment Tonight type setting where they're making a big budget film. And we ended up cutting that out of the first one, but we're sort of pursuing that with the second one, where we're going to try to get a star. It's sort of Hollywood making the big budget version of Long Pigs, intercut with, I guess, these online Facebook friends. In this case, now it's going to be two young females who are really taking Anthony's methods to the next level, doing it better, frankly.
That's awesome. I mean,
it's
horrible,
scary.
Awesome. It's scary, awesome, but yeah.
Awesome, but I'm telling you, there's a reason why there's no pictures of my daughter on Facebook. I'll say that.
No kidding. But one thing I will say real quick is I did ask James DiPaolo to join me in his interview, only because he's probably one of the early big supporters of Long Pigs, and he is ill, so I wish him the best. But I wanted him to come on with me so he can give him, kind of react to my thoughts. He was an early supporter and a good guy and a good friend. I hope you're doing well, Jimmy. But yeah, he is one of the good ones, by the way, on Facebook. And anybody who wants to look at a real horror fan and a real thoughtful reviewer as well, they should look up James DiPaolo. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. But yeah, I just want to bring that up because I've been hearing him talk about it, and I see like I mentioned in the review, when I say I forgot about it, it was more like I just gave up, because didn't you have a problem there for a while where you couldn't get, the distributor didn't have copies or something? Wasn't that what it was?
Oh, geez, that's a whole other podcast. You know what I mean? When you got about 3 hours, I'm looking at. Yeah, the whole problems with distribution and stuff. But yeah, it's certainly it's been difficult to find, and we're looking at doing kind of a relaunch with Long Pigs 2. These guys are actually looking to put some money behind it, so
good deal.
Hopefully it'll have. Again, it really hasn't gone away yet. So I'm hoping that with people like yourself, really this is the payoff. I haven't seen one single cent from the movie. You know what I mean? And the payoff really is thoughtful reviewers like yourself. Even if they're discovering it late, it still, it's the reason why you do it. You know what I mean? And why it makes you want to do it again, quite frankly. So thank you.
No problem. And one thing I will say is, not to brag about numbers or whatever, or as far as this review, you mentioned it, I'm a late bloomer through all of this, but I posted it, and obviously it gets hits all over the world, and it's got over 600 and some hits since I posted it, and that's like, 3 or 4 days ago?
Oh, really?
So I can just imagine, it's coming from everywhere in the world. Yeah, one thing I will say, the British, the Australians, the Japanese, and of course the Americans are really big on these type films. When they see a title, Long Pigs, the title alone doesn't say too much until you watch the film, and I think that's artwork is very intriguing. I've noticed that if a movie has a really eye-popping artwork, and if I post it on the review, I've noticed it gets hits a lot faster.
Interesting. I know that, you mentioned all those countries, and I got to throw Germany into the mix.
Yeah,
as
Germany
well.
too. Yep.
They are, I guess, used to having to seek this stuff out, so they seem to be way more adept at finding stuff and strange little gems online.
Yep.
But yeah, great supporters. You know what I mean? Especially in the UK for some reason. I don't know what it is about them, but they are rabid. Yeah.
Well, Germany loves me for obviously it's because of the name. Gruesome Herzog is
Of
German,
course.
and I get a lot of followers from Germany. So, I never even thought of that when I created that name over almost 3 years ago. Is big supporters Germany.
No, they're out there, and one of my best friends from kindergarten lives in Munich. So, what's up, Elisa?
There you go. But yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites. I have a list, and I've told you back in 2010 I rated The Crazies as my number one film of 2010. But Long Pigs would have leaped it. That's a lot. That's a lot saying that for me, being I like that kind of crazies people / zombies, but it is better.
And that leaves me speechless, just because I'm such a huge fan of the Crazies as well, and that's the kind of compliment that. Yeah, thank you so much. It really leaves me gobsmacked.
No problem at all. You also got to remember too, as far as budget wise, yours zero and theirs is a high end.
Yeah,
but. That to me, budgets doesn't matter. When I go into a review, obviously I check out the budgets, because you really can't compare obviously it's common sense. You can't compare the budgets for a low budget, no budget to a high budget. It's all in the quality of the story, and to me, it's based on quality, storyline. I love no budget films. I don't know what it is with me. I'm a weirdo when it comes to that. No budget films I love to watch and to see what they have to use to get it done.
Well, a lot of times they have, a lot of things going against them, but, the one thing that we had on our side was time. We could reshoot stuff. If we were going to not, have any production value or whatnot, we figured we better have good performances, to the point where we even, would recast an actor, and rethink a role. For instance, we've got our Rebecca Stapleton, our psychoanalyst, played by Kelly McIntosh. We had originally cast sort of an effeminate guy and put him in a sort of pseudo-Japanese surrounding with plants and all this stuff, and he was supposed to be very new agey, and it just didn't work. What we needed was a strong female.
Right.
At that point, and we had that luxury of being able to say, let's just go out, cast somebody, reshoot it, re-edit it, rethink about it, Yep. The addition of Roger King, basically the narrator, didn't happen until we had already sort of finished main production. And I was getting into editing, and being the editor myself, I was saying, geez, I really could use some stuff to hang this together, and happened to be watching Bad Lieutenant, Great horror movie where they use the radio announcer to kind of string things together. And just said, okay, So if you have that luxury, you can actually make a decent film. But unfortunately, too many people who, when they're no budget, they just cast their brothers, and
That's a problem.
There are good actors out there, And to me, that's the one thing that I hold a film up to a high standard of, to me, a film lives or dies with the acting. They're not to believe the characters. So we were really proud of the fact that we were able to get some decent performances, and we're so happy with our actors, and why, it's great that we were able to pull them back for part 2 and hopefully pay them.
Right now, has Anthony, gotten any work?
He's a really interesting guy, a personal friend of mine. I went to high school with him, and in high school he was certainly the star of all the shows and whatnot, but he basically doesn't want to go and audition for things. If
okay.
Ask him to work, he will work, but he doesn't, he actually holds down, a regular job while he waits for other things, which I say this because it drives me absolutely bonkers. You know what I mean? I really think the guy has an amazing talent and should be, a character actor. And no, to any directors out there, he's also an absolute dream to work with. He's one of these guys that makes the script better. You know what I mean? And seems to do it effortlessly. He's a genius, but, like a lot of geniuses, they're maybe a little weird.
Yeah. Well, one thing that James brought up to me that I want to talk to you about is the Amazon and the IMDb. I'm going to bring up the IMDb thing, but Amazon is, as far as reviews, I guess it's a good tool, but it's mostly a bad tool because, for instance, was involved as a publicist for a film called Renfield the Undead. And that's when I first got. They're actually the ones that got me started in the voiceover work as well before I got into the acting part. But I posted a review and stating that I am the publicist. For the simple fact is, I don't want people to think that I'm giving this review because of being part of the film. I made it well known. Everybody knows that I am a part of this film as far as the publicist end. And I got heckled by people nonstop. And I'm thinking, really? So here, I gotta be careful because I really don't care. An actress posed as a regular film watcher and bashed the film that she was in. So I called her out on it because it made me angry. And this is what goes on in Amazon. And IMDb, I think, is the worst because here's the thing. You have Paul Blades, I'm making a name up, who has a film. Okay, and then you have the so-called arrivals. There's always somebody that's battling against somebody else. Mm-hmm. They have all their people go to that film site of IMDb and try and drop the rating of the film. It's done all the time. 1, 2, 2. And it's so bullshit. That's why, when I go to review a movie, I pay no attention to the IMDb rating because a damn good film, if somebody who doesn't like that person, it's going to get dumped down low. So anybody who out there who doesn't review movies, who watches movies, please pay no mind to the IMDb rating. Pay no mind to the Amazon. Watch it for yourself, and then you tell us. I mean, reviewers have their opinion. That is it. It's not a game where, fuck you, Steve. I'm going to lower your score down to nothing because I'm jealous. I mean, that's exactly. What is your stories? What is your experience with Amazon?
Well, I mean, let's see. Amazon is a place where anybody who buys a book suddenly becomes a reviewer and seems to have the, equal opportunity to bash or say anything they want. What I find even more fascinating is a little phenomenon called astroturfing, which is sort of similar to what you were talking about, where instead of bashing something, people will blanket their movies with these glowing reviews and set up multiple fake accounts, which you really have to do a little bit of investigating to look at. A good way is to check somebody's total reviews, and if they're all for, one person or one film company or something like that, then it's a good chance they're fake. I mean, the New York Times recently picked up on this, and I know that they're getting more diligent about weeding out fake reviews, but it's fascinating. I just find it absolutely fascinating to watch these people bitching at each other online, going back and forth in the comments section for like 20, 30 comments back and forth.
It's funny.
It's some, I think a really talented journalist should somehow package this up into a book or something like that. I'm trying to figure out the best way to present it to people, but to me it's endlessly fascinating. And I mean, look at even YouTube. I think they just got rid of something like 4 billion views because they were fake views. They're robot views, right?
Oh my God.
And it's the same thing with Twitter, how, you find that a lot of celebrities are buying Twitter followers. I mean, it's sad, but at the same time, I have to admit I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You read all my reviews. I mean, the most recent review currently is on Amazon for Long Pigs is somebody saying, I want my money back. And I went to look at all of her reviews, and they were all of romance novels. And her reviews, literally, the entirety of her reviews was usually one or two sentences, something like, easy to read. The sex scenes were very descriptive. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I'm saying to myself, I looked at the picture of her. Of course, she's some, big fat lady. Anyway. Here I am, some person, even though I don't even know how she got a copy of Long Pigs or what she should be doing. She's clearly not a horror fan or anything like that. But, I was just talking to another filmmaker today, and, I think anybody who says, I don't care is lying. You know what I mean? You take them personally. You're really, in a way that, is hard to describe. And when you get a great one, and you wake up in the morning and you hear something like, you're very kind for Long Pigs, it makes your whole week.
Yeah.
You feel like you're floating on air, and it validates what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, so anybody out there who's just a hater, remember, we have feelings. So come on.
Well, see, I'll let you go, but there's a red flag. Okay, I mean, a filmmaker sent me an email one time, I think a couple weeks ago, and he said, check out this review. They bashed my film. I said, well, here's what you do. Do an investigation. Look at all the other movies that they watched and reviewed, and then that'll tell you if it's a bogus review or it's somebody who has no idea what the hell they're watching.
Exactly.
And it turns out that the person that bashed his film loves that Fairy Hopper movie. What the hell is that called? With 3 chicks. It's on like Redbox. I can't remember.
Right.
But this dude loved this borderline feminine movie, but hated his. And I said, there you go. Exactly. I said, now what I would do is I would post his review on your Facebook wall, and make sure you put in parentheses, this guy liked this film. So you tell me. And there you go. There's your sweet revenge. It's not being mean or nasty. He sent you the review. Now it's your job to post it.
Exactly. I mean, it is true. You can tell your friend to take heart that, there's basically, I'm sure that the internet is full of a lot of people with nothing better to do than just to spew hatred and whatever, and they don't feel very good about themselves. That said, I love the fans, and again, if I were saying that each and every Amazon review didn't affect me in some way, I would be absolutely lying. It's the reason why you make movies, is to see people's reactions to it, right?
Yeah, and I know a lame comment that you hear all the time. Good press, bad press is good press. Yeah, maybe, but it's still annoying. You know what I mean? It's your baby. I mean, it's like slapping your baby in the face, and that's basically what it feels like, I guess. But
oh, absolutely, bro.
But it's a joy to talk to you. And I'm glad we brought up some points. But again, James, I hope you get better.
We miss you, Jimmy.
But we will hook up on an interview sometime in the future. But again, Chris, fantastic film, and I saw it 25 years later, but that's what it feels like. But a fantastic film, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and it was a real pleasure talking to you.
Yep, and when maybe down the road, when you get plans on part 2, maybe I can get James to come on with me. We can have you on and just talk about it and promote.
Well, our plan, too, is to also drop the hint and the big news on people like James and yourself, and people who have been good to us with Long Pigs 1 before we release it to anybody else. So we'll give you the scoop.
Thanks, buddy. Take care, and thanks again for your time, and you take care of yourself.
Cheers, Scott. Thank you.
Bye-bye.